Welcome, everyone. This is Jesse Gilmore, and I've been hesitant on actually doing this video. I felt the need to just be open and authentic, because that's what I tell my clients to do. And so today is going to be a little bit different than normal content. Usually there's some filters, usually there's some understanding of a script. Ultimately, what I'm going to do today is talk about imposter syndrome. Because ultimately this plagues every single type of leader. Anytime that you're taking a step towards your dreams and what you want to accomplish, ultimately there's always a voice inside of you that wants you to play small. I'm not excluded of that. And ultimately, what I want to do today is be open, transparent, real and raw about imposter syndrome, as it's a very big thing. And before I do want to let you know of a couple different things. If you're new to Niche and Control and who I am, you have the ability of checking us out. A brand new website based around how we turn marketing agencies into growth machines. Kind of a little bit about my story, where my first three businesses, basically everything was based around me and my skills and kind of what I didn't know how to remove myself from the operations. And so as we became more successful, really just popular, and the demand for our services and what we were doing increased, it basically made it to where I had to work more hours, and I didn't really know what to do about that. And so we actually, me and my brother, we started that company. We ended up having to dissolve the business at the time where it was most successful in the eyes of our audience. And this is because we created a monster. And I didn't necessarily know really what to do to not have that happen. So I started up two more companies, and both of them were based around, if I didn't work didn't get done. And it wasn't until I started working as a professional project manager in a global corporation that I started to realize what was actually missing the entire time to creating business systems and things like that. So what we do with marketing agencies is really help them create predictability in order for them to scale, and we make it to where they don't have to experience what I experienced in my first few businesses. Now, how does this relate to imposter syndrome? Is ultimately based around just understanding that a lot of marketing agency owners are skeptical of anybody that says that they can help them. And in actuality, it's based around the industry. There are so many different, people out there, coaches, mastermind groups, so forth, that promise the world in such a short amount of time without any work. And that's ultimately not how you create a successful business. And it makes it to where the majority of people are very skeptical of anybody that says that they can help them, and rightfully so. There's a lot of people that are like that. And my main goal for this live, the frame that I'm working in, because obviously I'm not reading any script, is really just to get you to understand kind of an authentic look at what leadership is, and how by me kind of just leaning into a very uncomfortable scenario where I'm going to talk about my own imposter syndrome, because I've never owned a marketing agency, and I've never actually owned a seven-figure business, but I'm helping other people do that. And so, I'm going to walk through kind of how I'm beating imposter syndrome every single day. I face it. Because ultimately there's a part of me that wants to play small, and I'm really sick of doing that. It's not good for anybody, ultimately. So anyway, we have a brand new website, and kind of up nicheandcontrol.com. You can check it out, and I'm going to be referring back to the clients part, because that's ultimately how I am beating imposter syndrome every single day as I kind of go through it. But our website, nicheandcontrol.com, you can check out a whole bunch of things about what our clients are saying and so forth. But what I'm going to do today, and what right now, let me move this bar here, is I'm going to talk about imposter syndrome. So imposter syndrome is ultimately what every single leader has to face in their in their life, as they're taking steps towards something that's greater than them. They always have a part of themselves. It's kind of like the reptilian brain that's all based around survival, and that is basically telling you to not do that, not do the things that, like going on a live and talking about how you have to deal with imposter syndrome every day. So this is ultimately imposter syndrome is basically, there's a book. I wonder if I even have that with me. There's a super good book on this. Let me see if no, I don't have it with me right now. But it's a book by, what is that? Shoot, I'll remember it by the end of this video. But it talks about resistance. It's Stephen either Pressfield's. Stephen Pressfield's book that's all about the resistance. Basically, he's talking about imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is just like the concept version. But basically, imposter syndrome is the time where you're kind of breaking the chains of what is considered to be, current self, like the answer to who are you. So if I asked you right now, who are you? Your answer to that is basically based around whatever past decisions you made that led up to this moment, right? So you could say, I'm a college graduate. I own a marketing agency. We've been in business for 7 years, and I have a team of 4. That might be, like, or you could say I'm a father and a husband, and I have 2 kids, and I do these certain things. That would be an example of like your current self. Now, your future self, and this is all going to lead back towards understanding imposter syndrome and where it comes from. So current self is the answer to who are you. Future self is the answer to who do you want to become, or what do you want to be remembered as, or what do you want to achieve in the future, right? And this future self a lot of times is based around something bigger than you. For some of my clients, they talk about wanting to create a legacy, or the marketing agency that they can pass on to their kids, or they want to be able to sell the business, and so that they make big impact, they start another company and they keep on doing it. Or a lot of people start up marketing agencies just to make it to where they can sustain and grow without them, and then they're able to do the things that they really want, and maybe have financial freedom or things like that. And so whatever that future self is, that kind of end goal, there's always a gap between where you are right now and where you want to go. And that gap, if you don't focus on the third self, is ultimately very painful. There's always going to be a gap. It's like you have, it's like a horizon. You're going towards a horizon. What do you see? More horizons, right? And that's ultimately kind of what happens between where you are and where you want to go. Now, the third self that we haven't talked about is really that becoming self. It's the understanding that you are growing, you're changing, and a time where you're letting go of who you were, right? In order for you to embrace who you're becoming, and it's taking a step towards the future self. There's a whole nother version of you that's basically awaiting you on the other side of imposter syndrome. So the reason why I'm talking about all this stuff is really just to get your mindset and kind of a frame to understand imposter syndrome. And ultimately, I can now use that frame to talk a little bit about me and how I have to deal with this every single day based around what I've chosen within the business. And it's nothing bad. It's just ultimately how you lead is you just lean past the imposter. So the imposter is your growing self in the eyes of your current self. So your current self is all based around an understanding of comfort and just routines and doing the same things that you've always done, right? And your growing self is like letting go of past, maybe negative behaviors, negative routines and habits, and embracing something bigger. And when you do something different, it's natural to feel like you're unworthy, or you should just go back to who you were before. And so the biggest challenge from all of this, and leading your life, your business, and creating a life and business by design, which is ultimately what I hope the majority of entrepreneurs are going after, is just the biggest challenge is actually getting out of your own way. And so why I've been resisting going lives is because ultimately there's a part of me that you see from like content and things like that where it's always kind of a positive look, when in actuality it's been a hard journey to get here. Entrepreneurship is never easy. The times where you read about it being easy and it's like an overnight success is a bunch of bullshit. It's usually based around networks and maybe luck at the time, and a lot of times people say like, oh, I built a $10 million business. And then we ask about other parts of their life, and they're like, oh, I had a heart attack, or I have a stroke, or they let their body go in order for their business to rise, or they reach 10 million, and they think that that's going to make them feel fulfilled, but they feel empty inside. Or they go all in the business, and then they divorce, or they get estranged from the kids. And this is ultimately what happens, and ultimately what you need to do, and what we're all about when it comes to life by design and business by design, which is what niche and control is all about, is basically taking all your body, being, balance, and business, health, purpose, relationships, and in your business, and being able to move it into a level of abundance, and being able to not have it to where you lose relationships in the midst of a business growth, and you don't let go of your body in order for it to for your business to succeed, and that your spirituality or your purpose is linked to your business, so that way you're living your true calling, whatever that means to you. And that's ultimately where it comes from, is the understanding that there is a part of you that can move all levels into the next level, or all domains into the next level. And that's ultimately what the growing self is really all about. So that resistance, that growth, comes from when you feel resistance of doing something like going on lives. That's ultimately on the other side of doing that. That's where growth is. So um, everything you seek is on the other side. You must acknowledge the feeling of being an imposter, and continue to move forward towards the life of your dreams. So the question is, how do you beat imposter syndrome? So here is the steps. And now I'm gonna you're gonna start seeing, if you haven't already, that I am. This is an attempt to lead by example, because I don't think that there's a lot of leaders out there, especially on LinkedIn, for an example, that break the silence and talk about imposter syndrome, as opposed to it being a concept, but actually living it, and being able to beat it, not just from writing a really cool SEO article, or like our infographic that we have out, where you can download this and have that. But it's not just based around like the asset; it's actually based around the real story. And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my own story, beating imposter syndrome, and what I have to do every single day, and different ways that I'm doing it right now. So that hopefully this inspires you, wherever you are in your world. You may be a leader of a huge, massive company, or you may be just starting off, or you might be an employee of a company right now. Wherever you are, there is a part of you that wants you to play really small, and following these steps and learning, hopefully vicariously through my example as well, you're able to lead your life towards your dreams. So let me talk about each one of these, and I'm going to give a little bit of an example, and then that will kind of end our live on the other side. So number one is to break the silence. So what I'm doing right now is a version of that. You don't necessarily have to go live. But for my own self, even just writing that story. So if I was to go back to talking about our website and things like that, when I go to the About Us, I had to write about the challenges. I had to do my own inner work to understand exactly what I do, why I do it. Start of entrepreneurship, what the monster was, understanding what the ideal business was, and making it to where I found out what was missing. I stumbled upon marketing agencies, and then the creation of Leverage for Growth was actually the uncovering of that solution. That process of actually going through and documenting what was I learning and what was happening and all that kind of stuff was a way of breaking the silence. Because a lot of people prior to Niche and Control being formed didn't actually know what happened. They were looking at our previous businesses and they were going, what was this? Like, why did you shut it down? They didn't understand. I lost like hundreds of connections and friends and people that were associated with the business. because we used to do live event promotion for the Arts and Culture of Minnesota. And I was embedded so much into that culture that I'd created that they didn't really understand why. Why did it shut down? Why? And it was a cash flow issue, and it was also a burnout issue. So it's the two main things. And breaking the silence was one of the ways for me to understand what my gift actually is. And ultimately, it's to help other business owners to not have to deal with the things that I dealt with. And so that leads towards number two, which is separating feelings from facts. So each morning sometimes I'll feel as though I'm not worthy, or I'm not able to help marketing agency owners, when in actuality that's a bunch of bullshit. We have tons of case studies that kind of break that. And the feeling, I have to be able to separate an understanding of the emotions of the part of my brain that's saying to play small, and then the facts. We were able to, for an example, take Warren's company from 15, actually, if you go on my new YouTube, I think we have like right now like 23 subscribers. So I got a lot to go. But an example of like what we were able to do for clients, like Warren went from 15,000 with one employee to a team of 8, and 100,000 per month in 9 months. And he had the ability of getting clients at any time, but the problem was his operations, and we solved that for him. We were able to help Mike, who went from 5,000 per month to 20,000, and hiring his first employee in his agency. So helping a solopreneur kind of build his team. Susan went from reinventing the wheel in her creative firm to being able to use scalable systems, doubled her revenue. Which you see, there's a second testimonial was actually based around Susan selling her agency or getting acquired in 18 months. Fucking amazing. So, excuse my language. But in actuality, this is where that separating feelings from facts, knowing that I can help people, and the reason why we fit so well with marketing agencies has nothing to do with the fact that I've never run an agency before. It has everything to do with that. It's like marketing agency owners are subject matter experts in the marketing, where we basically fit everything else. We're like a puzzle piece. So when we fit together, and we're able to build operational systems and leadership and mindset, and the ability of making it to where where your business is going, and the people systems to hire the right people, acquiring and training people, and managing them to their highest performance, is something that's totally missing in marketing agencies. And that's the reason why large agencies always get a lot of shit, because they a lot of times will just take a junior account manager and throw them on to a client, and then they're charging way more than a small business marketing agency that might have a lot more like hands-on and maybe senior leadership. And so ultimately, the whole understanding is that I have to separate my feelings of feeling like I'm an imposter, I'm not able to do these certain things, when in actuality the results of our clients speak totally different. So for you, if you feel as though you can't do certain things, or you're not able to move into whatever leadership role you are feeling called to be, start separating those feelings and label those feelings. I feel like an imposter. I feel as though I'm nervous about this. I feel as though I'm anxious about whatever move I'm going to make. And then go back to facts. So if there's anything that where you didn't feel confident, and that's like the feeling that you have, remind yourself of the times where you were confident and you were able to take the next step, and what results were you able to get for clients, maybe, any way of making it to where you can separate those feelings. And it's not as though you shove those feelings down. You have to accept those feelings for what they are. So instead of pushing it down and making it bottle up, and you feel the emotion and it sucks, and it never gets dealt with, you actually have to accept hey, I'm feeling like an imposter right now. I feel as though I feel like this resistance to doing the thing that I know I should do. And this is ultimately what separates leaders from followers, or leaders from wannabes, is ultimately that understanding of like feeling the fear but doing it anyway. That's really key. So you have to accept your feelings for what they are. And then you have to be able to forgive yourself for mistakes. Now, this comes from an understanding that people on the road to growth, the road towards their future self, the road towards doing something they've never done before, they are going to stumble along the way. And being able to forgive myself for the 3 businesses that I spent years and countless hours trying to make it to work and failing. And I failed hard. I put so much into that time where I fell in love with the idea, and I didn't use business systems, and I didn't have predictability within the business to where a little hiccup ends up crushing the whole business or making me work 80 to 100 hours. That's bullshit. That's not why I got into entrepreneurship in the first place. So, but again, I have to forgive myself for my mistakes and forgive myself for the challenges that I had to overcome. And ultimately, on the road towards understanding future self and understanding where you're going in life, always comes back down to understanding that every single milestone, even if it was you falling down but you got back up, is literally a gift. And if you can understand what the lessons learned from every single one of those are and start applying them in your world, life will change. Life is different, and you'll beat the imposter syndrome. So that is number 4. Now, an understanding that you are either succeeding or you're learning. Now, the only time that you actually fail is when you give up. And I almost gave up. I almost gave up. When I went into corporate America, I was broken. I didn't have confidence in who I was and what I could do and how I could provide for a family as I was getting married the next year. And and I had to I almost gave up. That was really, really tough. I had to suck up my ego. So my first 3 businesses, I had the titles of like CEO and president and founder and whatever. And when I started in corporate America, HR intern. What the fuck? And I had to build it from the ground up. And if I was to look at my cash flow, that first year, I brought home 12,500. Holy crap. You can't do anything with that. That's ridiculous. The next year, 25,000. The next year, 50,000. The next year, 75,000. The next year, 100,000. And this is all based around an understanding of stepping into leadership. I had to basically prove myself within a corporate structure. And by doing so, I rose the ranks and started working under the VP of HR. I started running like huge strategic initiatives for like 5-year, 10-year talent management, initiatives for a $4 billion global corporation. And during that whole entire time, there was a part of me that was dying on the inside. It was like I let go of entrepreneurship and I embraced the golden handcuffs of corporate America. Now, for some people, corporate America works for them. It did not work for me. There's a part of me that wanted entrepreneurship so badly that I felt like my purpose, my meaning on life was just, meaning of life was just kind of dissipating for every time that I was clocked in and working. So from that process, the business systems that we learned, and that's actually how I learned everything. So if I'm looking back, my life in corporate America actually taught me a gift. Taught me the gift of business systems, taught me the gift of understanding operations and HR and mindset and leadership and being able to set people up for success and accomplishing a vision, whether that vision is for a $4 billion global corporation or a solopreneur marketing agency, and being able to simplify really complex topics like talent management, being able to make that very, very easy on how you find and hire the right people, how you develop people to independence in such a short period of time, and being able to create all the different processes that allow someone who doesn't have that kind of experience to basically shave off years of trial and error. And that's really where I'm understanding that during that whole time that I was in corporate America, I was learning what it actually took in order for a business to not only succeed, but also to be operated and sustain and grow without a constant without reliance upon a single point of failure or individual person. And from that, being able to take that experience and learn from it and never give up and start niche and control after the systems that we built made one of the facilities be sold. And then I was part of a whole acquisition and learning how to lead in the midst of the unknowns. Ultimately, that whole gift was I was building leverage for growth. Now, leverage for growth is our proprietary method where we just have an inside-out approach to growth. And this is ultimately, if you go on our website, nichecontrol.com, you can see, the about us and understand. You can also learn about our programs and stuff. But this is ultimately where leverage for growth came from. Leverage is being able to leverage the best parts of you as a business owner and your organization for ultimate growth and expansion. And this is where it all came from, was actually just understanding how to learn from every single experience that I've had so far. The 13 years as an entrepreneur and the 5 years in corporate America, and I just boiled it all down into a single method. And that method works really well for marketing agency owners. In 2023, we'll probably test it out with some coaches and stuff. But anyway, so you're either succeeding or learning. The only time that you fail is actually by quitting. So I'm going to drink some water because I've been talking a lot, and then I'm going to dive into the next ones. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So number 6 is to stay humble and ask for help. So this is another thing that I didn't do. In my first 3 businesses, I failed horribly by not seeking some type of expert help from somebody who's done what I've done, what I want to do, and staying humble and asking for help. So in my first businesses, I felt like I had to do it alone. There was a lot of hiding. I would hide from others. I wasn't authentic like I'm being right now. And it was because I thought that I had to put on a face. I had to put a filter on me in order to be accepted by the external world. And maybe you've felt the same way before. And the way that I learned humility was just understanding that, it's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to stumble. It's okay to be learning. It's okay to, uh, you know, fail numerous times as long as you're learning, number one. And if you need to and want to shortcut your time frame to getting to where you want to go, the fastest way of doing that is to stay humble and coachable and ask for help. And this is ultimately what holds a lot of business owners, especially first time business owners. For anybody that's watching this that maybe has owned multiple businesses, you obviously know the benefits of having a coach or a program or a proven process to doing whatever you're wanting to do. And it takes being humble, being raw, being open, and being understanding that you don't have to know all the answers, and that someone else's years of experience of trial and error and then them packaging it into something that can help you is ultimately your shortcut to success. But you have to ask for help. So number 7 is visualizing success. So one of the things that we do with our clients is really get them to focus on clarity. So, people might ask like, what do you want? And probably what's easier to answer than that question for a lot of people is what they don't want. Well, I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. Right. But the problem is that you're basically just like consuming yourself by what you don't want, which doesn't really give you clarity on what you do want. So visualizing success, a lot of times our clients will go through that exercise I was just talking about a little bit ago, the current self, future self, and the growing self, and kind of understanding a little bit more criteria about each one, getting clarity on where you are and where you want to go, and who you're becoming in the process. But you have to visualize what the end game is. This is ultimately where you have clarity of a definition of done. That's an agile concept where you want to know how do you know that you've arrived. And a lot of times people don't really have a definition of success or clarity around what that actually means for them. That's why some of the things that are so impactful for people is just a strategy session with me where I'm asking them questions about current state and where you want to go and what's the gap and what's holding you back, and how, and then we reorganize it into a path, which is amazing. But until you can actually visualize your success, there's not really anything to pull you into the next realm, so into the next version of you that's awaiting on the other side of beating imposter syndrome. And this comes because if you don't have something to pull, you'll always be kind of an average of the people that you surround yourself by. And for a lot of entrepreneurs, the problem is that they don't have like groups of people that get them to think big, dream bigger. You can accomplish more. Expecting and having a standard of the people that you hang out with, that they're expanding constantly. That's part of the reason why we even started Alliance as a mastermind, is because we wanted to surround people by other people that are trying to grow, that are committed to growth, that are able to understand that collectively you can create something that's beautiful and magical. We have these collaboration calls where people will join, and if there's a problem with a certain type of client or whatever it is, they can get live feedback from people. Have you ever experienced this with a vendor? How do you deal with a white label vendor? The agreement's changing, whatever the thing is, whatever specific it is, you have a collective group. And that is ultimately one of the benefits of a mastermind, is you're able to surround yourself by people that are growthful, and which ultimately helps you visualizing success and not settling for mediocrity. I truly, truly, truly believe that every single entrepreneur that's out there is really destined, if they're true entrepreneurs, are destined to expand and to grow, to impact people in really powerful, positive ways. And if you think about an entrepreneur is taking an idea and making it into a reality. And that reality, when it happens, you're including other people, you're marketing different things. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I will never, ever be an employee again, because I have this passion for entrepreneurs and understanding what that vision is that got you to where you are, and got you, motivated to keep on going. And where is it taking you? And I truly believe that our purpose on life as an entrepreneur is to impact people. And the only way to impact people is you beat imposter syndrome, and also by making a lot of money. You got to fund the dream, right? And so ultimately, visualizing success is one big part of that, where you're being pulled by a stronger why that is stronger than whatever opposition or resistance that you have. So I think we're now to 8. Let me make sure. Yep, 8. So number 8 is focusing on positive improvements. Now, positive improvements is really just an understanding of who you were yesterday and today. You just want to be like hit singles instead of home runs. Be 1% better than you were yesterday. That is ultimately an embracing of your becoming self, the person that is letting go of who you were so you can embrace who you're becoming, right? And focusing on positive improvements is a good way of understanding that you are on a journey. If you're actually beating imposter syndrome, you're taking a step out of mediocrity and good, and you're moving towards great, right? And that is ultimately fueled by not looking at the gap of where you are right now and where you want to go. That gap is always painful, and that's not focusing on positive improvements. It's actually based around, what are you doing today that makes you one step further than you were yesterday? And being able to do that allows you to have a positive improvement mindset, where you're looking at improvements and progression and development, your own learning in this whole process. And number 9 would be to rewrite your mental programs. So this is one of the things that I have our clients do, because ultimately in Leverage for Growth, we give you pretty much every single tool there is. You can build a whole business system to sustain and grow without your direct involvement. We figure out how you can, I don't even know, like whatever whatever you can dream of, we basically have, with the exception of the financial part, what we have strategic partners for. But operational systems, predictability, how to remove yourself, how to hire the right people, how to create, 3 legs of a client attraction system so you can fill your pipeline, how to make, sales calls more predictable, and being able to leverage each sales call that you have and actually increasing your close rates based on around a very scientific method. So you're not throwing spaghetti at a wall to see what sticks. That once you understand that you have all of the how, if you're really, really good and you know what to look for, you can find on YouTube pretty much the answer to every single question. But if you don't have some type of integrated system or long-term growth strategy, you're going to constantly be looking for and seeking things based on reaction. So a reaction to a certain scenario. Now, rewriting your mental programs comes in when you have the how figured out. Ultimately, everything is going to be based around how you view what's happening to you. And if you're able to rewrite your mental programs, I do affirmations every single day. I'll actually show you what we have, what I have for myself. She didn't expect to share, but why not? Okay, so here we go. So understanding soul purpose and understanding who you are and what you're meant to do on this earth is awesome. I have a soul purpose statement. I am a divine manifester on a lifelong pursuit of growth, expansion, and impact for building businesses and empowering people. I have a bunch of different things based around this, but based on this, if you look at affirmations gets a weird rap because people don't understand what it actually is doing, and they might try it for 3 days and then all of a sudden give up, which is ultimately how you don't accomplish anything. But from this, anything that is a challenge, if you don't feel as though you're a good marketer, or you don't feel as though you can do direct outreach, or you don't feel as though you're worthy of whatever, making it into an affirmation or even a power statement, which I haven't actually included in the affirmations, but all that I need is within me now. That's a power statement. Where each and every call I make, I start with an incredible level of positive expectation and prosperity. I know that right now, somewhere, someone's life is better and more prosperous because of my products and services. I feel confident and exhilarated. This is an example of rewriting your mental programs, getting something where on a routine basis, you're basically drilling in the right programming. And the reason why this is so important is because everything in the world and the marketing and everything that is teaching you to play small. It's geared towards employees. It's geared towards people not expanding. It's geared towards people living life by default because it's a lot easier for people to, just be consumers. And as an entrepreneur, you need to be a producer, which basically means that you have to program yourself to think differently. It means that you're going to maybe in your small group where the majority of people are employees, that you have to find a better group, a group that is focused on growth. And you can say, like, this year, the next year, my goal is to hit 2 million, and then have people encourage that and hold you accountable, as opposed to going, oh, that's way too much, just play smaller, right? And rewriting your mental programs is a way of kind of taking control of those inputs. So that's huge. Now, this kind of goes along with, number 10, which is normal not to know everything. Ultimately, it is normal to not know everything. You have to understand that everybody started somewhere, and whatever you see on LinkedIn or YouTube, and people are like succeeding and they're creating an agency in 30 days. I saw one that was like 6-figure agency in 30 days, and and they all come from an understanding that it's normal not to know everything. It's normal to uh, feel fear, but the key is just to keep on moving forward. And if you understand that the way to beat imposter syndrome is that you don't have to know everything, so you don't get stuck in like analysis paralysis, where you're just analyzing, is this the right way to go? I'm not too sure, and then your time goes away, and then your energy is not there. um, that is ultimately how you need to accept it. Last but not least, number 11 is to ask questions and continue to move forward. Ultimately, the whole key is that you need to be moving. You can't steer a parked car. So the way to make sure that you're steering in the right direction is you need to be able to ask questions, get clarity on what you actually need as you kind of bridge that gap. So that is how you beat imposter syndrome. Hopefully, you learned something from my example of just kind of being out there, talking about things that I was nervous about. I actually felt the need to do this in March, and I held back on it for some reason. So you're gonna see a lot more. If you guys like this, cool. If you didn't like it, so be it. But ultimately, you're gonna see a lot more of me, because ultimately, if anybody is to step into leadership and to step into leading others in any way, shape, or form, you have to lead by example. And I tell my clients every single day to be more authentic, be more personalized, be a human, because we're all human. In the midst of all this, people talk about business or consumer, it's bullshit. there's humans on the other side of it. And when you can talk to the human aspect, which is what I'm trying to do right now, hopefully this speaks to a part of you that's maybe yearning for it, you know? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop sharing this. Come back in here. So thanks a lot for watching, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow.